You're watching or listening to Strangers in Space, and for the next 20 minutes, who am I kidding? We're going to be doing a roundup of the latest news and rumours and mainly gossip from the world of Doctor Who, so you don't have to. Hi, I'm JR.
Hi, I'm John.
Right, this is
Oh
going
yeah,
to be
hi, I'm
fun.
Mark. Sorry, Matt always jumps ahead of me, so I'm
I'm
used to
Matt.
that.
Yes, but
Hi, I'm Ryan.
I'd spent
You're
5
doing
minutes
so
working out
well
the
for
order.
so long.
There are 6 of us on this call, which is
You all
almost
missed that, dears. I'm Steve.
You would
Almost.
have,
At least you remember who you are.
you would have seen my eyes glaze over before the podcast started as I was running through the alphabet, just trying to get it right.
As soon as I said, hi, I'm JR, I watched all 5 of you actually suddenly lean into the screen and start looking at everybody's names.
I knew where I was.
Yeah, I knew where I was.
I did it beforehand.
All right, I thought after the broadcast of, I can't even remember what the last one was called. Empire of Death? Or was that the one on the first?
Which World Reality War?
Reality War. I thought there wouldn't be much news for ages because, they're not making Doctor Who at the minute and there's really not a lot else going on and to talk about. And yet we seem to come back every few weeks with another bit of tittle-tattle that's crossed our paths. There was a bit last week, but I didn't call a meeting just for that, which was the sort of Film is Fabulous on Facebook thing where they put out the post to talk about the fact that they'd got charitable status, and most Doctor Who fans entirely missed that and only read the screen grab of a comment from underneath. So we'll talk about that. And the other thing we'll talk about is, well, we heard a bit of insider gossip, and gossip is probably the right word because you don't know how much faith you can put in these things. A few months ago, I guess it's a few months ago now, isn't it? 3 months ago, maybe, that the BBC were talking to Amazon about taking on Doctor Who. And then we heard a few weeks after that that those talks had gone tits up. I mean, if it wasn't true in the first place, then the second one really is just a way of the rumour mongers getting around the first. But equally, they could have been very true. And the context is, of course, the BBC and Doctor Who are still in bed with Disney until The War Between the Land and the Sea is broadcast. So they can't put pen to paper with anybody else until it's confirmed that Disney aren't going forwards anyway. But I don't suppose there's anything to stop them having conversations with people. And so what we've heard this week is that they have been having conversations with the one that we kind of ruled out. So when we talked about Amazon, I think everybody thought Doctor Who has a certain level, and above that certain level, I don't think anybody paid much heed to the idea that it could go above that level. But now we've heard that Doctor Who could well be going to Netflix. And so we'll talk about that. Should we do the Film is Fabulous thing first, since that was last week? So they put out, the Film is Fabulous people, on their Facebook page, a post to say that they had finalized their charitable status, which they'd applied for some time ago. You have to jump through a certain amount of hoops to get this charitable status because it's not just granted willy-nilly to everybody. And so they wanted to point out that having charitable status basically greases the wheels of a lot of the things that they were trying to do that otherwise they might have struggled to complete. And so basically this was a big moment for them in terms of what they're able to do and how they're able to do it. And of course, there were lots of questions underneath, mostly from people saying, oh, have you found a copy of X? Have you found a copy of Y? And have you found a copy of Z? And somebody asked directly, and I've not got this in front of me now. I thought I'd made a copy of it, but it turns out not. So I haven't got a copy of it in front of me now. So I'm just going to have to do this from memory. Oh, no, there it is. I do have a copy in front of me. I'm going to read it out and then I'll throw it out to the floor. In amongst the replies underneath, there were several replies to different Doctor Who questions, most of which were along the lines of, we will have news when we have news, but we don't have news. But in amongst those was this. Thanks. As mentioned by Sue Malden at our Recovered event in May, we are aware of several missing episodes of Doctor Who. Sue stated one of 2, but there are more than this, in private film collections in the UK. We are liaising with the individuals about cataloguing and preserving their entire collection, including the missing Doctor Who episodes, and ensuring that copies are returned to the BBC. We expect to make a detailed announcement shortly. And that's where it finishes. And the fact that it says expect to make a detailed announcement shortly, people took that to be that in the next few weeks, I guess, or so, there will be an announcement naming Doctor Who episodes and possibly even when they'll be available. I don't think this is the case, and I guess I'll go into the reasons for that in a minute. But
so I agree with you, because they have started to do we've catalogued the collection of this guy who used to work as a cameraman at the BBC, and this is the kind of stuff that he's had. So I would suspect that's maybe what they mean by a detailed announcement, and it may not be the case that it's going to be here's every Doctor Who that we've found. It's probably just going to be some of those collectors that they're in conversations with. They may get to a point at which they can then go, we've catalogued this person's collection, but we're not going to announce what Doctor Who is in it until they've presumably had those discussions with the BBC and made those connections between the collector and the commercial arm of the broadcaster and all that kind of thing.
also,
I've been quite surprised, actually, by the degree to which there hasn't been the sort of feeding frenzy of a Omni Rumour 2 variety that there was those years ago. That on the whole, people
We've got our
have been-
fingers burned, that's why.
Well, I suppose, yeah. I mean, there has been some extreme cynicism from some quarters saying, "Oh, well, believe it when I see it," and all that. And I'm replying to that by saying, "Well, you haven't been told to expect anything, so don't get either your hype, yeah, don't get either your hopes up too high, or
there's
don't
been a
get too
fair bit
cynical
though.
about it."
I've seen quite a lot of people reposting that screen grab, divorced
Yeah.
of the context in which that reply was made, and
Yeah.
from people therefore getting a shed load of likes and replies saying, "Oh, we're getting some new Doctor Who in a few
Oh, we
weeks.
may
Are we?
well
I
do.
wonder what it'll be."
We may well do, but it may. I mean, we've had this conversation, haven't we? It may be 5, 10, 15 years away before we get it.
Well,
Who
that's it,
knows?
Steve. We had this conversation in private. That's why I've convened the call so we can have it
Well,
in
quite
public.
so. But as that, well, that's right. I was just acknowledging that
Yeah, yeah.
idea wasn't exclusively mine. That
Do
it
you-
might be a long way off in the future, or it could be tomorrow. Who knows?
Are we able to tackle that, or do you want to introduce the second half of the statement where it talks about bequeathing?
Oh no, this is that's the whole statement.
Oh.
That's the whole screen grab that people are sharing. That's why I've read that.
Because my understanding of the point that it could take years is we could rather morbidly be waiting for the collectors to die so they can leave these things in the world. There is a chance if Film is Fabulous
Yes, yeah.
has achieved charity status, then there is a chance surely that donations then become donations to charity and can be basically a way of reducing inheritance tax.
Yeah.
So that could be an advantage of being a charitable organisation. And if a collector has a vast amount of material that really they've no use for anymore, that's a way of actually reducing the amount of inheritance tax they have on their homes or their property or what they pass on. So it could be a bequeathing before they die. So this is what I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily we don't have to wait for them to pop off.
No, we
nothing
don't.
Setting a
Is
tax
it?
bill in this year, because that's how we don't know what tax will be offset.
But the whole point of Film is Fabulous is kind of the whole reason it was set up, and several of us have seen Paul Vanez's talk about this at last year's Hooverville, right? So was it Hooverville? No, it was. No, he talked about this somewhere in the summer. We saw him in the summer. Utopia, I think. He was at Utopia talking about this.
Well, if you will.
I'm sorry, Steve. Hooverville is clearly the better. But until you make us the official podcast of Hooverville, we're still going to go to other conventions, right?
No, that's fair enough.
As long as
They're
we
good
still go to
lads.
Whoville, though, right?
They're good lads.
The whole point of Film is Fabulous, the reason it was set up in the first place, is because they were worried that when collectors die, because those film collections go into probate, and because therefore they're held up for God knows how many years, and at the end of that process, probably the the person who's left behind, the sort of wife or whatever, the widow, doesn't know what to do with them anyway. They end up going in a landfill because by the time they've been through probate for 2 years, who knows or cares what's even happened to them anymore. The whole point of Film is Fabulous is to get it written down on paper that when that person dies, instead of that stuff getting caught up in probate, there is a destination for it. So the probate process becomes much quicker because there's a piece of paper which says where it's due to go. So then it goes from like 2-3 years or whatever down to 3 or 6 months or something. And these people then can legally go to the house, pick that stuff up and take it. And there's no tax implications because the charitable status has greased that wheel too. So that's the whole point.
Not the whole point. There is the secondary thing of donating as a way of reducing inheritance tax beforehand.
It's both of those. It's both of them.
But if there's
it's a very clever approach, isn't it? Because if you just turn up, knock on the door of a collector and say, what Doctor episodes you've got or whatever, then he's going to tell you to disappear quite quickly. And even some of these guys, I mean, look, I don't have a problem. These guys have looked after this stuff and they've collected it when nobody wasn't. Nobody was desperately interested in it, to be fair, over many years. And presumably those collections, presumably they love them. I mean, we've all got collections of one sort.
Well, this is it. When Matt said a few minutes ago, these things that they've got no need to keep hold of. I'm thinking of, what do you mean?
But the point is that they will not want them to go into a skip when they die because they value those things and they see the value of it. So this is a very clever way of doing it because it's saying to them, look, when you come to the point where you're no longer around, we will be able to look after that collection and make sure it doesn't. It doesn't just get junked.
It's also like famous authors. Famous authors, they often leave their archives to libraries and things.
Yeah.
It's not always after they've died. They give their archives to libraries before they die because it's a good way of preserving it. And presumably Film is Fabulous can't buy. They don't have the financial resources to buy things off these collectors, so there isn't that. So tax incentives are a good way of doing it. I'm not saying it's not also bequesting in wills. I'm saying that's not the only route, and there's a strong case.
No, but the point
this could happen before they die, which would speed up the process a little bit.
Right. The point I'm trying to make, though, is that we shouldn't get overexcited that it's going to happen in the next few weeks.
No, and I'm certainly not saying that.
However,
there might be collectors waiting for this to happen.
Right.
So,
But I'm saying I think there's as good a chance that it will be at least 5 years away. Because
we don't know. Some of these things are pretty old. And I'm not saying the sooner they die the better. Nor am I saying we should organise ourselves, go around their house and pop balloons outside their windows or whatever,
I mean,
and this is why
paperwork's been signed. Surely.
Some of them are over 6. Some of them are over 60. So it is
it's old, isn't it? It's so old.
But also, they're not. So this is kind of something else that people seem to be, from the comments that I've read under people's posts on social media, people expect to be getting an announcement of, well, who's got it and what have they got? That is surely not going to happen because, yes, then there really will be people popping balloons outside their bedroom windows, if not trying to break in and get hold of them, right? So it is really not the case that they're going to say, right, X who lives in X town in X county has got X and Y episodes. That's really not.
So I'm not saying that the reactions have been measured or patient or are accurate. But what I am saying is I think there's multiple sides to the charity status that would have implications on how these things would reach Film is Fabulous and a safe preservation system and how they would reach the BBC.
And in terms of the fan reaction to this, I think it's quite important to remember that quite a lot of us do actually enjoy this sort of speculation.
It's fair enough.
And it's good fun. I loved the Omni Rumour. I absolutely loved it. And I was pretty much convinced they were all coming back. And that was nice for a month. That was nice for a few months. And then it didn't happen. You thought, well, it never was going to really, was it? But it was fun while it lasted.
What I found quite funny about that Film is Fabulous thread was there was all the Doctor Who stuff. But there was also a comment from Film is Fabulous going, No, we've not found any of the missing Dad's Army episodes. Stop asking. I was like, oh, well, it's not just us that bothered them. That's good.
No.
There's other factors.
They have found some Avengers. They have located some first series
Allegedly.
Avengers.
Yes.
Interesting.
Apparently.
The other thing is the Omni rumours.
Just before you go, though, Matt, the whole point of the Dad's Army thing is that was Doctor Who fans asking Mark.
The Omni rumour thing went on for a number of years, didn't it? So if these conversations go on for a number of years, then by the time they've reached the zenith, then it probably will happen. So like 2030, which is your prediction, is only 5 years away, which in the grand scheme...
Oh, no, my prediction wasn't 2030. My prediction was not before 2030.
Okay.
But it could
I mean, I'd be happy to be wrong,
know,
but I just think it's way more likely, given everything that I've heard about this, including from the horse's mouth itself.
But given that we're not the doctors of these various people who've got these episodes, so we don't have any particular medical insight into their condition, and it's just all speculation. We don't know. And
What's good is that you get pen to paper promising these things, which is a situation that hasn't happened before. So Paul Venezis has talked for years about one particular collector he knows who's got Doctor Who, who's never made any promise about what will happen with that Doctor Who, but that Paul has always said he hopes to get that Doctor Who and he expects to get that Doctor Who, but he can't guarantee that he'll get that Doctor Who. But now that they've got the charitable status, the big thing that's changed is that they can get contracts drawn up so that they can guarantee that they'll get those things at such a time. But I think the important thing to remember there is that it's still at such a time. This doesn't mean it's going to happen any sooner.
And also, Doctor Who is a small part of the stuff they do, and it's a small part, no matter, there's 6 of us on here who obviously might disagree with that in our heart, but it is a small part of the wider kind of culture and sort of the wider lost media and our cultural heritage.
Well, this is something that Paul said to me, I think in person when I saw him last, because I mean, me and Dylan, was it me and Dylan? I think it was me and Dylan. We just went off. No, it was me and Harry. We just went off with Paul and we were talking to him for about an hour afterwards. And we weren't talking about any of the sort of details that you might want, because he's not going to give that stuff away. But one of the things he did talk about is the fact that these 2 Doctor Who episodes are not with somebody who's interested in old telly. They're with somebody who's interested in film and who picked up, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like he picked up a collection from somebody else of X amount of items, which just happened to have these 2 Doctor Who in it. And the reason he bought this collection is because of the films. And so he's kind of accidentally ended up with these Doctor Who. And I don't know if he's ever, I'm assuming he has played them at some point or another, but that's not the reason why he's got them. And so that's a situation we have to take into account too. And it's a good job that there are people who collect films, because otherwise TV on film would probably never have got out there in the first place, would it?
Absolutely.
Right, shall we move on? Because
because look, it's important to say, whatever comes back, that's good news. It's good news. Absolutely. I'd love to see some more Out of the Unknown. I'd love to see some more Adam Adamant. I'd love to see some more Doomwatch even. There's loads of stuff I'd love to see.
I want to see Object Z Returns, because I've only just watched the first series.
Yes,
great. I want more of that.
Yeah, hasn't that first series been fantastic to see?
It's great. Yeah, really good. I was amazed when I watched it, then started reading the book. Then I was like, wait, this was kids' telly.
Yeah.
It feels anyway. That's not what we're going to talk about.
So the other thing that we're talking about, and this is, I guess, much more pie in the sky in some ways, is that, well, I mean, just a bit of insider industry gossip, I guess, that Netflix are now interested in, and the way it was sort of phrased to us is like the back catalogue, 600 episodes of a back catalogue. And I guess I've always maintained, I don't know if we've maintained collectively, that Doctor Who's back catalogue is probably worth as much, if not more, than Doctor Who going forward for a streamer, because what you need to put on a streaming platform is enough material that people can't binge it in a month and then lapse their membership, right? Lapse their subscription. So something like a back catalogue of I don't know, is it 40, 45? It's 45 years, give or take, worth of stuff on Doctor Who, isn't it? I mean, minus the missing episodes and minus the 15 years where there wasn't any. So about 45 years worth of material has got to be worth a lot to a streamer. And I guess when we talked about this before, nobody thought Netflix, because Netflix was always seen as the giant. And so it always seemed to be that whoever would want Doctor Who would be one of the lesser but big ones. Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, I suppose.
Did we not think Netflix?
I don't
I
think
mean,
we
I
did.
never discounted
I feel like
Netflix in my
Netflix would
head.
have been one of the more obvious ones because
Yeah.
they do have an existing. Well, they've got a British
They-
production base. They've got an existing relationship with the BBC, and they did have Doctor Who on
Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
Netflix. Was it in the UK and the States for a while? I think.
I
And then
suspect-
HBO Max took it, and yeah.
I suspect
It was
that
the
the reason
new series only.
I suspect
Yeah.
that the reason why Netflix wouldn't have been part of the thinking when we thought Amazon Prime were interested
Yeah.
is because Netflix are so big, they'd have so much power, the BBC wouldn't want to cede that much control over Doctor Who to Netflix. Whereas with somebody like Amazon Prime or Disney Plus, you're in that sweet area in the middle where the BBC can control it, but Amazon or Disney can pay to play it. Whereas with Netflix, if they took over Doctor Who, they'd want to make it, right?
I think also the
Depends
rumor
how
about
desperate the
Amazon
BBC is.
was so strong that it seemed to be what was going to happen, didn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
anything else was not really on the cards at that stage.
Well, and when the Amazon Prime thing fell through, insofar as we know,
Yeah.
then we thought that was it and done. There wouldn't be any Doctor Who for 2 or 3 years at least, because Disney were walking away, presumably. Apple, I think, are the other one of that sort of size who could have been in contention, but Doctor Who really doesn't fit with their USP,
No.
I don't think. So, I mean, the only one of that size that it could have been really was Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And when Amazon Prime seemed to be out the picture, it looked like that was it for Doctor Who for a while. I mean, what we heard was that Netflix want the back catalogue, but the way to keep the back catalogue current is by making new episodes. And given everything you've said about them having British production teams and everything else, I mean, if this is Netflix, it makes sense for them to want to make Doctor Who. So I guess, I don't know, collectively, do we think that it's likely that Doctor Who ends up on Netflix and maybe in about 2 years' time we get the next series? And if so, what does it look like? Is it essentially a new Doctor, a new showrunner, a new start? Do they even name the, because in the publicity in the past, even with Christopher Eccleston, it was kind of acknowledged that he was the 9th Doctor Who. Do Netflix start from scratch?
If they're buying the back catalogue, if they're buying like 45 years worth of material, they're not just going to create a dislocated new series.
No, but I think what they would do is
Yeah.
a Eccleston style,
Yeah.
like There's a whole history here. You can and you can dip into that on Netflix if you'd like, but they would probably start it. I think a lot more blank slate than we had with Ncuti Gatwa. I would think
They want that jumping on point, wouldn't they, for new viewers?
Yeah, but
Potential
it would be a Rose situation,
Yes.
and then
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
gradually they'd use the new series to sort of nudge people into the back catalogue that they've not the McCoy and before back catalogue, but the Eccleston to Gatwa back catalogue. So we'll have Weeping Angels at some point, and
which I do think was Davies's probably was RTD's original plan for. And for whatever reason, they didn't get the back catalogue on Disney Plus. So, because I think he must have envisioned it as, well, yeah, people would just jump in and they would be able to kind of, and it would be this whole tapestry like you have with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Star Wars and all that kind of thing, that you could watch something new, go, oh, I want to learn more about that character, and you would dip back. But for all the various reasons that I'm sure we'll learn about in Paul Hayes' new book in 20 years' time, that didn't happen.
It wouldn't surprise me if there were serious efforts when a deal is put together to get either Tennant or probably more likely Matt Smith to come back and resume the role.
I don't think so, but I will go into that maybe in a minute.
Okay.
But yeah, I can see the appeal, but I think the thing with both of those two actors is, I think it's generally thought that neither of those actors has really travelled beyond Doctor Who. So I guess they've done supporting roles in big movies.
Smith probably more than Tennant, which is why
Smith's in House of the
yeah.
Dragon. He's just one
Yeah.
of the
He is.
stars.
Which got cancelled
absolutely
after a
is.
year.
No,
No, he didn't.
no,
No,
still
he
doing
didn't.
it.
No,
No,
it's still going.
Still going.
Oh, how's
We're
the
still
Dragon
waiting for series
cancelled
3.
now?
No,
No.
no.
Oh, I thought it was.
The
I must be
Wheel of
thinking of
Time has
something
been
else.
cancelled.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, is
Yeah,
that?
to be fair, JR, I get all these dragon
Yeah.
nonsense things
Sure.
mixed up myself.
But that's TV,
And
right?
he's done a number of fairly high profile films. He did a Marvel one, didn't he? I mean, it wasn't a very successful Marvel one.
Yeah, it was
It's
the Sony
considered
Marvel,
one of the
that is,
worst
yeah.
ones ever. So
Considered one of the worst ones ever, but he was alright, isn't it?
He did the
Well, Matt
Terminator
Smith's
that
doing quite-
buried the franchise.
Yeah.
And he
Wasn't one
got
of the
cut out
official
of it as
Marvels.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way Hollywood looks at those actors is that since Doctor Who, they've basically been in a lot of things, but they've not done anything that's more high profile for them than Doctor Who, right?
Yeah.
They've not
Certainly that's true
led.
of Tennant.
They've not led anything like they led Doctor Who that is had a reach beyond Doctor Who.
In that case, stick Karen Gillan in there.
Ryan had a point, and Ryan hasn't spoken yet this podcast.
yeah,
Just
so,
to-
no, it's just yeah.
There's
I'm
too
trying
many
to find that,
faces here.
You need more elbows.
nanometer of sound gap. Yeah, I was just saying. So a couple of things. So Matt Smith's been a supporting character in a lot of reasonably high-profile films, and he's in a good one now. But like you said, he's not quite broken through. David Tennant's kind of close, but again, no one's putting him in anything blockbustery, which is, I think, kind of
Gone
what we're talking
backward.
about Netflix-wise.
He does a lot of stuff in Britain that doesn't go
Yeah,
beyond Britain,
he's
really.
gone backward, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah,
a young family, so it's like,
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
this is not a criticism. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just why would Netflix put David Tennant or Matt Smith at the front of Doctor Who again? I don't think they would. But
Also, in terms of, I was just thinking, because Disney sort of promised so much and it kind of crumbled a bit, and we've got this one spin-off. I mean, because it's laughably called the Whoniverse, and
I don't think Disney promised that. I think RTD did.
Well, okay, RT did. Sorry, but he, on the back of Disney money, I suppose. But it ended up being the sum total of one spin-off that we're still waiting for, which, as far as I'm aware, has kind of inspired nobody particularly to be waiting for it with bated breath. And I just wonder what people thought, that if Netflix does purchase Doctor Who and it does become the new force behind it, does that mean we're going to finally get that promise fulfilled? And by extension, as we said about the reboot, sorry for talking quickly, because got to make sure I get this out. We ended with the sort of cliffhanger thing of Billy Piper. Are people envisaging that that's going to get forgotten about, and we spin on, and then we have
if
a
it
new
goes to
thing?
Netflix, that gets forgotten for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what I
especially
figured.
if there's years of wrangling over contracts, and because obviously we've got to wait for the Disney contract to expire after War Between the Land, and then by the time you get all that, you get a new production in motion, you cast actors, you get it to screen. It's going to be a fair few years, so I think
There's going to be
they
at
just
least a 3-year
forget
gap
about it.
between screen appearances.
I think RTD's Universe idea wasn't a bad one. And I think the way it was set up, gathering all the old episodes into one place on the BBC, gathering all the Eccleston to Whittaker on the TV, and then sort of doing odd things like the War Games and the Daleks in colour and little sort of documentaries and little fragments, that could all work if the main series was popular and strong enough to actually keep on going for 4 or 5 years, and then bringing Sutek in, bringing Omega in, would be a feeder for these old episodes. Unfortunately, that series, even though I quite liked it, didn't really catch light.
I don't know. I think it was successful enough. I think the thing that's brought it to a halt is the end of the Disney deal, not the fact that it wasn't successful.
Yeah, but the end of the Disney deal and it not being successful may not be like
I don't think it's. I think we can see just. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the global ratings. I think just in terms of the numbers in the UK, it's not got a new. It's not grabbed that new audience, and I think Netflix, could. And the reason I think that is Armando Iannucci did. I think it was the TV festival a couple of years ago. and he did the McTaggart lecture, and he talked about the sort of future of the BBC and how he says basically kids and sort of teenagers kind of growing up, they'll say, "Oh, I don't watch the BBC," but they'll watch Peaky Blinders. And I said, "Well, wait a minute, that's a BBC show." No, it's not. It's Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Because that is the funnel now. That is where they get a lot of the telly. So I think in terms of getting a new audience, I don't think that Disney Plus quite has that same audience.
I don't. Yeah, Disney Plus is smaller, and I don't.
So I think Netflix is the big it's the big sort of, what do you call it? The marketplace, I suppose, where you could potentially, if you had a Ncuti Gatwa style figure, to grab a younger audience on Netflix with a kind of an easier way to get into it. I think you could do that Doctor Who or Stranger Things thing that they wanted to do with, post Jodie Whittaker.
I don't know about spin-offs. Does Stranger Things have any spin-offs? No, it doesn't.
It just takes ages.
So,
Guaranteed it will. It will do.
It will. There'll be a 9.
There's like a stage show, isn't there? There's like external stuff.
No, what happens in places like Netflix tends to be, I think, that you don't have spin-offs happening at the same time, but when your main thing finishes, then you have a replacement thing afterwards. So I think Walking Dead is the one that has had them running concurrently. But outside of something like Star Trek, mostly, like when Stranger Things finishes with the next series, then you may have a spin-off with some of the characters. But you've just had recently, a variety of things, haven't you? Where the main thing has come to, I know names have gone out of my head, but I'm sure there are loads of examples of a main series of something lasting for 5, 6, 7 years and then finishing and then something coming on afterwards.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I was just going to say, even Breaking
which
Bad
was a big hit for Netflix in the UK, but wasn't a Netflix production. But everybody goes, "Oh yeah, that it was a Netflix show."
Right.
It's so I do.
But Better
think
Call
there
Saul
is a way
comes basically afterwards, doesn't it?
Yeah, it came straight after.
Yeah.
But also, these are different things to Doctor Who. So I mean, they are limited, effectively long-running limited series with planned endings. Whereas Doctor Who is sort of there'll be Doctor Who that goes on. And I have no idea if there'll be spin-offs. Probably not. But if they had spin-offs, they could have spin-offs concurrently because Doctor Who is that's the nature of Doctor Who.
There was no planned ending for Stranger Things, though. The reason it's coming to finish is because all of the actors are out of contract after 5 years. They all signed
they're
up
on
for
their
5.
20s now, and they're still playing like 13-year-olds or however old they're supposed to be.
To be fair, I don't think there was a planned continuation of Stranger Things. It's just it became so phenomenally successful that they went on for as long as they could.
It took a long time between the first series and the continuation, didn't it?
But this is the point, isn't it, Matt? If Better Call Saul, or what was the first one? Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
Right. Yeah. If that's out of contract and it comes to an end because it has to, but they want to carry on making it, they make Better Call Saul. If they're making Doctor Who and it doesn't go out of contract and they don't have to stop making it, they've got no reason to make a alternative version of it.
Well, I don't think Doctor Who needs spin-offs because I think every Doctor, as much as I enjoyed the Sarah Jane Adventures,
all of those stories could have been told in Doctor Who, couldn't they?
Yeah, Torchwood and Doctor Who are basically Torchwood and Doctor Who. Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures are basically just Doctor Who, but without the travelling.
Without the Doctor.
And without the Doctor. And then so it's not as appealing. I think there is a world in which you have more creative Doctor Who spin-offs. You have your Dalek Empire, you have your whatever, but I don't think we're in a world where we can get those things outside of Big Finish, really.
They are an opportunity. Sarah Jane and Torchwood are an opportunity to have Doctor Who-ish things without killing the main actor having to be in every screen, in every scene.
Sure.
I mean, Doctor Who is hard wearing on the main actor because he or she is the central figure. Stranger Things is an ensemble cast. Breaking Bad effectively is an ensemble cast as well.
Yeah.
Etc.
Well, yeah, but then you just change the lead actors, right?
Yeah. Well, that's Doctor Who. Then, in effect, you spin off Doctor Who every time you.
Well, absolutely.
Regenerate.
Well, that's it, and that's the difference between Doctor Who and these other things. As Mark says, you don't need to have side projects for Doctor Who. you just change the nature of Doctor Who a little bit every time. So Mark, you and I and Dylan were just talking about something else, and you weren't originally necessarily supposed to be on this call, but I made you stick around for it because, and I mean, I guess
I feel very welcome.
no, I made you stick around for it because I wanted you here. Because I mean, I suppose this name would have come up anyway, but you're the one who brought it up. So we put it in our WhatsApp thread. Oh, this might be happening. It might be Netflix, and your reaction was.
Oh, I just said I would put money on if it all went, which this is, like you said at the start, pie in the sky stuff. But I think if it was all to, they got all their ducks in a row, Doctor Who's on Netflix now, is going to do a whole new series. I think there's a world in which it's Jack Thorne as the showrunner. Because
not wanting to say, like, I was talking about Jack Thorne about 2 years ago as a prospective showrunner to replace.
And allegedly, so was Russell T Davies.
Yeah, in fact, any television series that's mooted has Jack Thorne as the prospective main writer.
Come on, because for the sake of those people who don't know who Jack Thorne is, and I'm vaguely aware of him,
he writes everything.
Yeah, any drama you've watched on television in the past 5 years. So Adolescence obviously is the big one from this year. Okay. He wrote that with Stephen Graham. Toxic Town, Jodie Whittaker.
His Dark
just recently.
He did a stage play of Harry Potter.
Didn't he do his Dark Materials?
Yes, he did.
The main Doctor Who.
Right, so this is a serious guy.
He wrote Glue very early on, which is mostly filmed in Aldbourne. So
okay.
Well, there you
go. He qualifies then, doesn't he?
But the interesting thing was, after you named that name, then you and was it Dylan, I think, or somebody pointed out that he'd just had an interview in Doctor Who magazine, which ostensibly he was talking about it as a Doctor Who outsider in the I Love Jodie Whittaker issue, where they just got 3 people who are sort of just industry professionals who don't really have a Doctor Who connection to talk about their love of the Jodie Whittaker era and whether they're a Doctor Who fan. And the other 2 kind of said, no, I'm not really a Doctor Who fan, but I enjoyed this bit. And then there was a question that all 3 of them got asked, what would your Doctor Who look like? And the other 2 both kind of said, well, it wouldn't really look like anything because I wouldn't really make it. And that was kind of felt genuine. And then the Jack Thorne one, which you and whoever it was in our thread pointed out, was a bit more ambiguous. So I dug it out, and I've got it in front of me now, so I'm going to read it out. It says, as a diehard, would Jack ever consider writing Doctor Who? He says, there are others that are better suited to answering that than me. Which, to me, 100% sounds like, well, yeah, Netflix have asked me, but we haven't signed the contract yet, so I can't say for sure whether it's going to happen.
Just to point out,
there was also the rumor that he was part of the season. Well, the now aborted
that's
season
true.
3 writing
Very
team,
true.
which makes sense because obviously his Dark Materials, he's worked with Bad Wolf, so it would make sense for them to pull him in as another sort of seasoned writer to take the pressure off RTD in the way Stephen Moffat was. He was a writer producer that got to take on an episode in the Christmas special to lighten the load for the showrunner. So I can see in that version of events where the Disney deal stays on, you get the Jack Thorne, the written and produced by Jack Thorne episodes.
So it's also a suggestion that if you take a phone call from Doctor Who magazine and agree to give an interview, you really like Doctor Who. And if you're asked, are you a Doctor Who fan?
You're being
say, no, I barely watched it. Is this Doctor Who magazine? Yes, I'll talk to you about Doctor Who for a bit and Jodie Whittaker. Sure. But I don't like Doctor Who.
No, neither of them said they didn't.
It sounds a lot like you may well think so. I couldn't possibly comment.
Yeah, no, the other 2 weren't. So you're talking about the other 2, right?
Joe Cornish and
Jesse.
Armstrong.
No, they weren't saying that they didn't like Doctor Who, Matt. They were saying that they didn't know Doctor Who in the way you'd have to know Doctor Who in order to make Doctor Who.
I don't think that's true, though. I think RTD and Stephen Moffat and Chris Chibnall have sort of left this impression now that you have to be both a fan of Doctor Who and an established screenwriter with certain amounts of accolades to be Doctor Who showrunner. And I think actually you just need to be a good writer that has a fundamental understanding of what the thing is.
I'd
You know?
also
The thing
I'd also
is,
lay
in that
money
interview-
on the possibility that Joe Cornish knows Doctor Who very well.
Oh, he does it, and he
yeah.
talks about
Oh,
it in the
yeah.
interview.
Yeah.
He's a bit evasive on like I wouldn't necessarily want to do.
Did they?
You know,
Did
the
they?
show,
I
but
haven't
he
read it
does.
yet. Did they interview Matthew Holness? Because he's my man for it. Matthew Holness.
Wholeness would be good, yeah.
Oh, good, wasn't he? Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm going to see
the
him
interesting
on
thing about
Halloween.
Jack Thorne,
Okay.
though, is that he didn't become a Doctor Who fan until the new series because he did not like the 80s Doctor Who. He saw it as a 10.
Fair enough.
He thought it was terrible. So his understanding is essentially the next generation down, which would be the really interesting one and the one I've kind of been looking forward to rather than bringing Russell back.
Yeah, definitely.
The thing that really struck me about the Jack Thorne quote, though, is the next sentence. So the follow-up question is there a version of the show he'd love to tackle? Which kind of just, I guess, is a way of phrasing, what would your Doctor Who look like? And he says, I think the Doctor can wear lots of different hats. That's why it's so successful, which screams to me that he does have an idea of what he wants Doctor Who to be. It's not exactly what Doctor Who has been for the last 15 years or 60 years or whatever. And he'd love to give it a go doing something a little bit different.
It's a bit worrying if he's focusing on the hats, though.
Yeah, what's the different hat he's going to have the Doctor wear?
I think so. Reading between the lines, and given that this is an interview about the fact that these people enjoyed the Jodie Whittaker era more than the other eras of modern Doctor Who, ostensibly. Now, whether that's true or not is another question, but that's the sort of basic reason behind the interview. I think when he says the Doctor can wear lots of different hats, in that
He's talking
kind
about
of
Patrick
teasing way. No, I think he's saying I'd do a woman Doctor, but I would lean into the fact that it's a woman and make it about that in some ways, in
With
a
a
way
hat.
that with the hat, in a
I
way
think it's
that
slightly misrepresenting the Jodie Whittaker bit. It's about Jodie Whittaker herself, not the era necessarily.
Yeah, yeah.
oh
They've
yeah,
got,
no,
they've all got. I mean, not Jesse Armstrong. Joe Cornish has background with Jodie Whittaker, doesn't he? With Attack the Block,
They all
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Jack
they all do.
Thorne with the Toxic. Was she in Toxic
Yeah,
Town?
and
Jesse
Jesse
Armstrong.
Armstrong is Black Mirror.
Okay.
His
Yeah.
Black
oh
Mirror.
yes,
Yeah.
because that was almost going to get made into a Hollywood film as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So yes, so they've all got previews with Jodie Whittaker, and that's presumably why they went to those people to ask. I think, and yes, you're right. They're not talking about the era, but they're talking about the Doctor. But clearly, they're also talking about the era because that's when that Doctor was on telly, and they're talking about the Doctor Who that actor made. So I was immediately struck by that it sounded to me like somebody who's got an idea of what he would want to do, because that phrase screams to me, I know what Doctor Who can be that it hasn't been yet.
Equally, there was a rumour that he was due to be one of the writers on season 3, wasn't there?
Oh yes, well Mark talked about that just now, basically, didn't you, Mark?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Listen back, John.
Well, time will
Yeah.
tell with all
Yeah.
of this, won't it?
Right, we are definitely out of time though, so I am knocking this on the head. We'll be back in like 3 weeks to talk about, I don't know, Apple TV, I guess. Until such things happen, I was JR.
I was John.
I was Mark.
I was Matt.
I was Ryan.
And I was Steve.
And we will speak again soon.